Hey, welcome to this new video. What I'm gonna show you today is what are the the entity types in Dialogflow CX. What are they? How can we create it? And to understand and how to manage the entity types in Dialogflow CX, and also what are the types of entity types that we can create. So um in other videos I explain what is the NLU, but let's try to re-explain it again. So the NLU basically is a subset of the natural language understanding. Sorry, it's a subset of the natural language processing. So it helps basically a machine to be able to understand human language. So that means that basically just designing our natural language understanding, we are describing or defining how we as end users are we gonna interact with our assistants, or in this case our Dialogflow CX agents. So I recorded a video about the Dialogflow CX entities. So sorry, intents. So you will see there like what is an intent and how you can create intents and how you can create or use entity types on an intent. We are gonna cover it like in a more lightweight way. So um, let's get started just explaining what is the Dialogflow CX entity type. So um, if you remember what is an utterance and what is an intent, so let's rephrase it a little bit. So an utterance is something that we can or that we can say to an assistant, to a Dialogflow CX agent, for example, or to an Alexa skill even. In this case, as you can see, is we are talking about or we are requesting the information about the financial news, the yesterday's financial news. Okay. As you know, we can request that information in multiple ways. Like show me yesterday financial news, show me the more relevant financial news that have been talked about yesterday, and so on. But the here, as you can see, there are some utterances, and we are requesting the same intent. We have the same intention to know the same information, which is in this case intent show news. Okay. So multiple utterances are mapped to one intent. And in this intent, if we take a look, we have key things that we wanna extract, like keywords. Okay. In this case, is yesterday and financial. What kind of information could be these two entity types? So in this information, the yesterday, the information that we wanna extract is the timing, like when that happened, or the information that happened when. In this case, what we want is the information that happened yesterday, but we can change that and like think about the news that happened on last month, last year, or this year, 5 years ago. So that could be added as an entity, because that is gonna be something that could change, and it's a keyword that we want to extract, okay, under our natural language understanding. For the financial, in this case, the entity type could be like the type of new that we want to extract. That could be financial, that could be sports, that could be economy, politics. That is another keyword that we want to extract. So this is really important. And on Dialogflow CX, you can create your entity types as well. So if we go to Dialogflow CX agent, under the manage tab, we are gonna see the entity types subsection or section, and there you can define and create new entity types. So for instance, by tapping the create button, you are able to create new entity types. So for example, if we click on the Pokemon, I have one here, Pokemon um, entity type. So The first thing is that we have the display name, so we have to specify the display name. And the other things that we can set up is if the entities are just only entities, like there are no synonyms, and if it is a regex entities, that means that instead of adding the entity plus synonyms, what we are gonna add is basically regular expressions to extract the information. Okay. um that could be things that could be scenarios that the regular expression can be useful, so that is why you have there the regular expression option. And for the entities, what you have when you have created your entity type, you can add the entity plus the synonyms. For example, in this case, we have the Pikachu. As you know, Pikachu, well, in the Pokédex is the Pokemon number 25, and also you can ask information or request information or talking about Pikachu. Instead of uh, saying Pikachu, you can say Pika, for example. So that could be another synonym. So here we can just type Pika and then press enter, and the new synonym is going to be enter. So for instance, if we want to add Charmander, for example, or Bulbasaur or another Pokemon, it's just here. Add the reference value plus the synonym, basically adding the entity plus the synonyms. So once you finish, make sure that you click on save, and automatically, if you have that enabled, the NLU, all the thing related to the machine learning stuff, is gonna be training. um, and once the training is finished, what you can do is test your assistant and check that the natural language understanding has been updated, and you can interact with your assistant with the new values that you have added. If we take a look to another example, for example, for the order type, in this case I have pizza, coke, and I have as a synonym like the plural name. um so this is basically just another example, but if we go to the intents tab, we are gonna see how to add these entity types that we have. So for the entity types here, just if you go to an intent, you can select the word that you wanna turn on or transform into an entity type, and then you can just type here the entity type and click there, and that's it. You are added um, sorry, you added the entity type to an intent. Okay, you have to specify the type and the parameter id. The parameter id is the id that we are going to use in the future in our webhook or in our pages flows, to check the the information that has been extracted. Okay, thanks to the natural language understanding that we have designed to all the intents, utterances, training phrases, and the entity types and the entities itself that we have added. As you can see here, this is important. There are multiple types of entity types, so we can create entity types. As you can see here, I created Pokemon and order type, but there are more entity types that can be created. Sorry, well, yes, and there are system entity types. So if you go to the Dialogflow CX documentation, you can see all the entity types that you can create it. As I explained you, for instance, you have there the custom entities, which are the ones that you as a developer are gonna create under the entity types section in your agent. Then there are system entity types. So as you saw in my example, in the order intent, I was using the sysdom number just for the number. So there are a bunch of system entities that are already created. So um, I mean, mm, my recommendation is just to not to go crazy and create a bunch of entity types, custom entity types. Check all the system entity types that are already available, and in that case, um, my recommendation is to use that. Okay, that will um, change, or yeah, depend on the locale, but in the region. but there are a bunch of entity types available, system entity types. There are the regular expression entities, as I explained you before, and then there are session entities. The session entities are kind of dynamic entities that are loaded. For instance, when you start your session with your agent, you can call a webhook, and that webhook can fill these session entities types, dynamically using the webhook SDK. The webhook is available in a bunch of languages. In my case, I usually use the webhook in Golang. I develop basically in Golang. So yeah, for example, what are the scenarios that can be useful, that could be useful? I don't know, for instance, like if your agent is a trivial, or your entities are dynamic, that for instance, like depending on the agent or depending on the interaction, the session and the information that you have to load is dynamic. That is when session entities make sense. Okay. And for the trivia scenario, for example, is when you are loading the the responses, like for instance, like what is the capital of blah blah blah, and then you give 1, 2, 3, 4 options, and instead of having a user typing 1, 2, 3, 4, and you wanna have like the options itself, like for instance, I don't know, like Madrid, Valencia, Barcelona, and you want to add those as the option. So you can add that, and you want to add that to a natural language understanding, so the user can type, instead of just 1, 2, 3, or 4, can type the response itself. That is another useful scenario. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That is the system, the entity types on Dialogflow CX. And yeah, you can find all of this information under my blog post, under my blog site, shavidov.me /projects, and under Dialogflow CX you will find all the articles that I wrote about Dialogflow CX. And yeah, that's it. I hope you like the video.